Hello, my sober lovelies. Before we dive in, I'm really excited to announce my group coaching program for women is live, and you can join now. So excited for this because let's be real here. Quitting drinking isn't just about saying no to the glass of wine or booze. It's about what comes after. All the fear, the boredom, the late night anxiety, and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And that's where my Rewired Sober group coaching program for women comes in. It's only $247. I'm being totally transparent on the price. It's for 3 months, and you'll learn how to shift your mindset, build habits that actually stick, and question the core beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, and find healthier ways to deal with that loneliness and that now what feeling. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. We'll have live group coaching sessions weekly, and there'll be a bunch of women walking through it with you. It's not another cookie cutter sobriety program for mommy vloggers. It's neuroscience meets real life, and it's designed for women to help you not just stay sober, but actually feel good living sober. You can join anytime, and I'd love to see you on the inside. So start today, get instant access. The link's in the show notes. Hey there, and welcome to You've Been Selected. I'm your host, Kate Vitella, and something tells me you didn't just stumble across this podcast by accident. Maybe, just maybe, you've been called here, like selected by the universe for something more. So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of You've Been Selected. Today is April 20th. I'm going to try to start saying the date. It is Easter because these have a tendency to go live a few weeks later. And I think it's good to bring it into context of when I'm recording. So that's going to be my new thing is I'm going to try to remember to say the date. So in today's episode, I have my husband here with me again. Say hello, Philip.
Hello.
And we wanted to record an episode on what it's like being a sober couple.
Yeah.
Because I get questions, you get questions.
A lot.
Like, what is it we do? What do we do for fun? What is our life like?
I get questions like, now what do I do? If I get sober, now what do I do? I'm just going to stay home and read books?
Or like the other day, someone asked, what do you guys do as a sober couple?
Like it was a bad thing.
And I remember you saying, everything.
Everything.
We do everything.
I do whatever the hell I want to do. I do all the stuff I did before when I was drinking.
Yeah.
Sober.
Yeah.
I do more now that I'm sober than I did when I was drinking because I have the energy to do it. I have, I don't know.
And like this thing called we can drive home, we don't have to stay at hotels for everything, although we like to do that too. But there's something to be said about being adults and being able to drive your own ass home. So I first wanted to go into how sobriety has affected our social life, because I feel like that's people's biggest concern.
Yeah.
And when I think about our social life now, I think about the fact that we are booked out. Like we write down on the calendar when we're going to an event, and we have to kind of pre-plan because we have a lot going on. And I can't say that about Kate and Philip, when we first got together, like maybe 8-10 years ago. It seemed like we were kind of boring. I mean, we still drank.
Well, we thought we were having fun.
Yeah, we thought we were cool.
We did the same thing every night.
And like we drank at home because we didn't want to drive. We usually got in a fight. We didn't have a lot of friends to go drink with. And the friends we did drink with, they got in a fight. Like someone's getting in a fight.
Like real fight, not argument fight, but fight. Like someone's going to get bloodied.
Like looking back, it seemed like, what were we thinking? But, I'm looking at our calendar now for the spring and summer, and we go to fashion shows. I love fashion, and you're into photography.
Yeah. It's rare now it's like, when do we have a weekend where we're not doing anything? Where before it was like
Yeah.
going weekend and weekends and weekends without doing anything.
Yeah.
And then we do it on our own too. Like this, was it Friday? I went and shot a band called Spiritual Cramp. Good band. If you want to do yourself a favor, get them in your ear. And you're right. I was downtown Seattle around all the bars and restaurants. And as the night wore on and as the show wore on, people are drinking, having a good time. People are doing what they want to do. That's fine. That's okay. But I was able to get in my truck and drive home without a care in the world worrying
Yeah.
about how am I driving? Do I have alcohol in my breath? I mean, no, nothing. I just
Yeah.
drove home.
Yeah. Am I gonna get pulled over, make an ass of myself,
And
get
who
arrested?
cares if I got pulled over?
Yeah. I
It
know,
didn't
right?
matter.
I like, sometimes I kinda wanna get pulled over because I know I'm sober. So we go to live fashion shows. Philip has gotten into photography. We go to random art gathering things. We go to live comedy. We go to live music. And none of this stuff I would have thought you could do sober. Like, before I got sober, I thought all of that would have to go
Mhm.
because there's alcohol. But
Well, you can't have fun if you go
yeah, or you're
'cause
not
you're
gonna
not
have fun.
drinking, yeah.
And now it's like we go and yes, there's there's a bar, but that's not really the event.
No.
And I think that now that we're sober, we are so focused on the event and whatever is happening that night that we don't care that other people are in a freaking 8-mile long,
Line to
bar
drink,
line
yeah.
to get one shitty beer and then spend the rest of the night in line for the bathroom.
No, and I've had the question pointed at me so many times, "Hey, is it okay if" well, I go to Vegas once a year
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my friends, and, the first time they asked, "Is it okay if we go to a bar?"
yeah,
"I don't care what you do, man. I'm gonna go with you."
yeah,
And, they finally figured out that I could do everything I've always done and better.
yeah.
And on the way home from that trip, Papa Dave, he's like, there's 2 days, Papa Dave and Dave. So,
Are the Daves gonna care that they're on this podcast?
they'll like it. They'll like it. But Papa Dave's like, "Man, I didn't know how to take it." I just kinda laughed. He's like, "You're the same idiot I've always known."
Yeah,
He's like, "But you're sober." And he's like, "That's great." And I just now that I am hanging out, doing whatever my photography thing at bars and clubs, photographing bands or runaway shows, whatever, I'm meeting more and more people who are in those industries who are sober,
yeah.
and we talk about how they probably couldn't really do what they do being tore up.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm meeting musicians and every photographer I met at this show Friday was sober, and they were the craziest bunch of people that I've met. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Army hanging out with a bunch of paratroopers, and these guys are as crazy as them, only they were sober. We were all sober, just laughing, having a good time, taking pictures.
Last night or Friday night was a really good example of you show up to this live venue. Well, tell that story about being in the green room.
Well, so I go to shoot Spiritual Cramp, and, I just noticed that there's no alcohol around before while they were getting ready for the show, water, juice, and everybody seemed pretty clear-eyed, and I just felt I had to ask, and I even said, "I know this is a crazy question, kind of out of left field, but are you guys sober?" And the singer Mike was like, "Yeah, yeah, most majority of us are sober, yeah." And we kinda laughed about it a little bit, and the door guy sitting the security guy was like, "I got 3 months." And it was weird, like, this whole little cluster of people who were in this, club in Seattle
Yeah.
at this great, great rock show, and this whole group of people out there were talking about being sober and doing what it is we do. I can't take those pictures if I'm drunk.
Yeah,
I
for
can't,
sure.
like, physically do it, and
We couldn't have the life we have in terms of the social life,
no,
going to all the events we go to, the outfits and the photography and it's not like we're this jet-setting couple,
no.
but we do a lot of stuff live and we're together and, we show up. And we would never be able to do all of that if we were drinking. We would have to get hotels and Ubers and probably cancel a lot because of alcohol. So
Eh
it's crazy that this is our social life is huge now
Yeah.
because we're sober.
And people like sober Philip and Kate. I
I
mean,
know.
people I'm walking down the sidewalk leaving the show, and these 2 girls go, "Hey, you're PM Vitella, and your partner's Kate Vitella. You've been selected." And I started laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, that is us." And I was like, "You guys be safe and, have fun." But, that just kinda shows you how around town we get,
Yeah,
how
we've
far
networked a
reaching
lot, and
that
we're
we
not
get.
the dorks, right? We're not the sober wallflower dork. We think we're cool. Are we
I
cool?
I I
We're
I
cool.
think we're cool.
Yeah, we think we're cool.
Roman, I don't know, he think
Our son is not
I
gonna
don't
think it.
know.
And we joke we will get invited to the show. We may not get invited to the after party or the after
Yeah,
party, and that is
that's okay.
okay.
It's okay. It is funny though when, we ran into Mo, my old army buddy, and he was telling stories about drunk dad, and our son was like, "What the heck, dude?"
At least we don't have to endure that.
No, we don't. He has had to endure that. So with that, kind of looking back at the way we were, all those stories that he was telling, none of them were that fun. None of them were that great. I was actually kind of horrified that he was talking about Paratrooper Philip. In the old army days, I was embarrassed. In his head, somehow they were cool, but I feel much more exciting now as the photographer Philip, the sober Philip
Yeah.
that goes to these shows and meets these people and has these adventures. I wish I had had those adventures a long time ago, but
Well, and the fashion Kate and the photographer Philip, they did not exist before we got sober
no.
because I've always loved fashion, but I would have never gotten into modeling and really being backstage at fashion shows, blogging about fashion, going to New York Fashion Week, really being in it with these communities, networking and helping at several shows. Now, that version of me would have never existed.
Yeah.
And because that version of me existed, you got into photography.
Yeah, I know. So
So
without that existing, and you have 4 years more sobriety than I do. And I think that's
yeah,
important to
that's
say
important
that
to yeah.
you're ahead of me on that. And kind of leading that way led me to follow that way. I don't know if follow is the right word, but it influenced me,
Yeah,
obviously.
it did.
And
It
I
really
think
did.
our life is 100% better and our marriage is vastly better. But just, I don't know, just the things we do as sober Philip and Kate is way more than we could ever dream of doing as not.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of things and, like I said, live comedy, live music. We like to go to thrift shops. We travel. We're not jet setters, but we make our way to New York and LA, enough and,
And ordering mocktails at whatever restaurant or bar we go out and there's the last comedy show we went to, was that guy's name? Amir K.
American,
Amir, real super funny
we
guy.
laughed our asses off.
Yeah, and, all the tables around us have drinks and beers, whatever.
We don't care.
I go, "What's on your mocktail list? Let's try those," and I'm chugging them out of a mason jar like I'm chugging drinks, but it was fun, it was cool, and
And one thing I tell clients when they run across the problem of like, who wants to go to dinner when you're sober? Women aren't that big into food oftentimes. I mean, some women are foodies, but I'm not really. And it becomes this awkward exchange when you go out to dinner. It's like, then what do you do afterward? If you're not going to order drinks at dinner and you're not going to go do something after dinner, then you're all dressed up and it's like this 45-minute meal. And then what? And so to kind of mitigate that, we shifted to going to lunch. Like, I like to get dressed up. I get dressed up in whatever. We go run some errands, we do some shopping, we go to lunch, we have a nice meal, and then we can go do some other things after because it's still during the day and we can a lot of times we just shop or we go to flea markets or we walk
yeah,
around
yeah,
downtown or but
treasure hunting.
yeah, we call it treasure hunting, but, like, we wouldn't do that if it was after dinner hours because everything would be closed, so, yeah, there's some shifts that had to be made. We now go to lunch all the time.
But you could though, and we do
We do.
go to late night dinners sometimes and still do the same things that we did as drinkers
Yeah.
sober. And you know what? Guess what? We're not all sweaty and washed out,
I know.
and I don't smell like Camelite cigarettes,
Yeah.
and you know, we're not looking like a shit show.
Yeah,
You
for
know, we
sure.
could go the whole night, except for my hair getting all crazy,
Oh,
looking
your hair's not the only one.
looking being fine, being okay, and having a great time.
Yeah.
I will say, I'll say, I think I no, I'm going to say I do have more fun now
Yeah.
than I did before because I don't feel sick. I don't feel like I'm making bad decisions. I don't feel, guilty about anything I said or did or whatever. I feel good, and it's better
Well,
this way.
and let's talk about the bar tab, right? I mean, it's very expensive to go out to dinner these days, lunch. I mean, I say these days like I'm 100, but let's face it, the cost of food has gone up. Going out to a meal is expensive, even if it's lunch. But when you don't stack on 8 glasses of wine and beers and cocktails, your bill is quite a bit cheaper. So we've saved so much money as a couple not going out and spending hundreds of dollars
Yeah,
at the
I was
bar.
gonna say hundreds because
Hundreds.
you're talking like $7 a drink plus tip
If
and
you're well, $7 at a dive bar,
sidebar.
I know, but, like, and me, I'm bougie, so I like wine, and it's just I was talking about this on another episode where we have an account that money comes out of my paycheck and goes directly into a savings account for travel, because we can be more intentional with our money now, and we don't have tons of money, but we have enough to where because we don't have a bar bill, we can funnel some money into a travel account, so when we wanna get on a plane and go to a trip, we freaking go.
Yeah, we haven't had any problems going on trips or sending Roman to San Diego for his graduate or just stuff. The amount of money financially we save so much that
Can
we're
you
allowed
imagine? Yeah.
to have a little bit more freedom. So not only do we feel physically and mentally better, we have more financial freedom. We could get up and go to work every day, and
Yeah,
and not miss a day of work because you're sick.
and there's something to be said about that, like, I mean, we're not excellent savers, we do like to spend money, but we know that we're not going to, like, show up to work drunk and lose our job.
Right.
So there's a sense of, like, security in that you kinda have your own back when you're sober. You know you're showing up. And so, yes, the economy shifts. Yes, one of us could get fired, laid off, what have you, all that. But I think we spend money a little bit more frivolously on fun things because we're like employees that don't call out sick. We save our vacation time. Our employers love us. We show up. Like that's the only way that I can put it. And there's this security in the sense that we're not going to blow our lives up financially.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah,
don't
we have that stability
we
of
don't spend $8
being
million
accountable.
dollars on a trip at a bar or the airport or somewhere and be like, "Oh my god, can you believe what happened?" God, I used to do that anyway. But
Yeah.
financially, yeah, it does help your marriage financially. Well, I mean, let's talk about how it helps our marriage in other ways too.
Well, I think I could say from arguing when you're both drunk, your filter, you have no filter. You say things you can't take back. Once it leaves your mouth, you can't get it back. So, not to say that we don't still argue about stuff. Of course we
Say
do,
some
but we know when to step
Yeah,
away. We
yeah.
know when we're able to step away. When
Yeah,
you're drinking,
yeah.
you're not able to step away sometimes.
I would say, like, it's not like we're a perfect couple, we do fight, but we try to stay above the bar, like, we don't go below the belt and say things we regret as much. Um, I think we're better at distancing ourselves when we start to argue too, like, take a pause, take a breath, we're
Yeah.
sober, we don't need the drama. We try really hard to be respectful of each other, not swear at each other, you know? And I think also too, as a sober couple, we're spiritual. I mean,
Hmm.
we've always been Christian, and together we both have a spiritual base, and so that helps as well. I mean, that's a different topic, but there's a foundation to our marriage, that didn't exist before.
There's a trust.
Yes. Yeah. That's
There's
the
a
word I was
trust,
looking
and,
for.
yeah, I just had this conversation with somebody how there's a trust. Somebody asked, at work, "How does, Kate feel about you going to these clubs shooting bands?" And I'm
Or
all,
going to Vegas on a guy's trip.
"Oh, yeah, going to Vegas on a guy's trip." There's some good pictures from that. But, I'm all, it's a trust thing, man. She knows I'm not gonna come home at 4 in the morning, and she knows I'm okay. She
Yep.
knows I'm alright. She knows my heart, she knows my head, and, vice versa also. I know her heart and her head. You go to New York,
Yeah.
you go to LA sometimes, and I don't think about it, and
Yeah.
I think being sober, we don't think about it. We don't have to worry about your brain doesn't go to different
For
places,
sure.
and I know you, and you know me. We know what we're doing,
And
so
I
that's a big
know
thing.
when you're out late shooting a band or out late with friends or
Mm,
whatever, you're sober, you're gonna get safely
yeah.
home. And if you decide to make bad decisions, well, you decided to, speed in your car, eat too much junk food, spend too much money on something stupid at a Padres game or whatever. It's not stupid. I know you
I know,
laugh.
I was like,
It's not stupid. You know what I mean?
there's nothing stupid at a Padres game,
No,
but
we just overall, there's a trust.
we know that we're making better decisions. We don't we're human, we don't always make
Oh
the
god.
perfect decision, the right decision maybe, but we're able to have that conversation afterwards also, and, have good, clear, well thought out conversations rather than
Yeah.
jabbing at each other, just being mad. And if we are having a bad day, if we are mad, the other one is sober enough or sober period to know when to just kinda walk away
To
and kinda
walk
give
away.
that person some space and kinda talk about it later.
I honestly don't think our marriage would have lasted
Mm-mm.
and the trajectory that we were. I mean, after I got sober and I was really in it for recovery, and that's because I had to, right? I was dying of alcoholism and I had to get sober. And you didn't get sober in the beginning, and I think had we stayed on that trajectory where you did not get sober, we wouldn't have lasted as a couple.
I don't think 99.9% of couples would survive that.
Well, yeah, ours was. But I mean, like, overall, a lot of couples survive one person getting sober and the other one not, but we wouldn't have because ours was it was so difficult going in, and my struggle with alcohol was deadly.
Mm-mm.
We're not fucking around here. Like, I was I was gonna die. I was gonna either crash my car, you know, fall off a cliff, die of alcohol poisoning. There was no way forward without sobriety for me.
Mm. Yeah.
And I didn't know that we would last if you I wasn't sure you would ever get sober, and I didn't know we were gonna make it. I really didn't. I knew
Mm.
I was gonna stay sober, but I didn't know I certainly couldn't fathom that we would be this, like, sober couple.
No. No, and to have, like, a situation where like, "Hey, PM, Kate Patella," stuff like
So
that.
funny. And I think people enjoy us as a couple because we have a really good time everywhere we go.
We do, and I think, myself as a photographer, taking pictures of people because I'm sober, I don't give, like, that weird drunk vibe,
Yeah, creeper
and
vibe.
the models know they're okay. Philip's okay, Kate's right there, we're all in this together, and, yeah, I just think our persona, the way we present ourselves, the way we conduct ourselves in public, no one's ever seen us be a shit
Act a
show,
damn fool.
yeah, in public.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, we don't get invited to the after party, so
Well, and rightly so, because we're 45 and 55 or however old you are.
you're not 55,
45. How old are you? I forget. I'm almost 46. That makes you almost 50 something.
27, 53.
Anyway, yes. And we have so much fun because we sit and laugh and,
Mhm.
you know, there's something to be said about, just you talking about the photography thing. W As sober people, we knew we had to find something to do. We knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we, just stumbled upon this. Like, there was some intentionality about, like, "Okay, now how are we gonna reinvent ourselves? What new hobbies are we going to pick up here?" Because sitting around on the couch, watching TV, that wasn't the type of couple we were gonna be. We wanted to be out and social. We didn't wanna just be sitting at home on our ass, and so
Yeah, and we push ourselves. I think we both push each other and push ourselves. Like Friday, to be quite honest, I could have very easily
yes,
stayed
stay at
home.
home.
It's the end of the week. You're tired. You're whatever. But I was like, get up, man. Go do this show. And I came home excited. Well, you were asleep when I got home, but
Yeah.
I stayed up editing really late, and I was excited the next day. I had a great time. Made some great connections. Um, really good connections, and just I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
And those are things on another Friday night in another universe. I just would have gotten home drunk and crawled into bed and, stayed in bed the next day for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah, and that's the other thing, that's a good point you bring up, is because we're both sober, we go to bed relatively early. I'm a grandma, I go to bed super early. I love going to bed early because I love getting up at, like, 4 a.m. But you go to bed relatively sober relatively sober?
Relatively sober.
Sorry. You go to bed relatively early just because I'm in bed and I'm your precious sis wife and
Yep.
you love me.
Yeah.
But what that means is we get our asses up out of bed early. Like, we
Yeah.
really enjoy our mornings.
Yeah.
We're not people that like sleeping and waste half the day, and
No.
we get up.
Sleeping in like for me is probably like 8 o'clock,
Yeah, because we have
which is weird.
we tackle the day. I noticed that, especially as you've been sober a little bit longer, you've got a to-do
I
list.
like to do
You
things.
gotta get up. You like to
My
exercise.
day off, I like to do things, and
Whereas before, it's really easy with a hangover to be like, we're not gonna, you're mostly not doing the thing.
yeah.
Because and that's the funny thing about sobriety is people think, "Oh, you're gonna get sober and you're gonna have no life." Oh, no, as a drunk, you have no life.
Now, life doesn't stop, and I tell people that. I have friends who are in the process of trying to get sober, and I explain to them that you still have problems. You still have parenting issues. You still have work issues.
Yeah.
You still have your car still breaks down, or,
Sure.
life happens, but I'm able to handle it better. I'm able to tackle it head on and not
Yeah.
it happens, life happens.
Sure.
So, as a parent, you have to lead by example, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
We have to show the kid how we handle adversity, how we handle when something really bad hits us, because it still happens, right?
Oh, for sure.
How we handle that.
Yeah, someone said to me when it comes to leading by example, with kids, more is caught than taught.
Mhm.
And, you can't say to a teenager, "Well, you better not go out and drink and smoke a bunch of pot and this and that." If you've got beer bottles everywhere, I'm wine drunk all the time. We have people over drinking. I mean, I know it happens, but it's hard to be a hypocrite and have teenagers around. You really have to walk the talk. The other thing too is we're a really honest house. Like, we're a pretty open.
Pretty open,
We have
good
one
conversations.
teenager in the house, and we're open about our sobriety
Yeah, for sure, for
because it's
sure.
important. It's important to be open about what we went through and where we are now.
For them to see where we are now and
Yeah.
how recovery happens,
Yeah.
just because a person is addicted to whatever it is today doesn't mean they can't recover later. They will recover if they put enough time into it. One thing that I like to say is that our kids are watching us.
Yeah.
And, I say our sons are watching us, and you think about, well, teenagers see a lot of stuff. So does an 8-year-old. So does a 6-year-old. They see mom and dad passed out on the couch, and they understand why they're passed out. It's not, you're not fooling anybody
For
to
sure.
think that,
Yeah.
well, those are little kids. They don't know. No, they know.
Oh, they fucking know.
They know. So it's just super important for us to be open and honest with them. And we are brutally.
Yeah, and there's a level of vulnerability. You want your teenagers, especially, because they hate you, you want them to think you're cool, and you want them to think that you do everything badass and you're invincible. But there's this level of saying, like, "Yeah, we fucked up."
Mhm.
We like you explaining to our teenager that you totaled your last car and that's why you have a new truck, and
Yeah.
this is what you don't do, you know, instead of just acting like you're this invincible man.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm his dad. And, you don't wanna be their friend. They have friends that, you wanna be someone they could talk to, but someone they come to when they have an issue also. And if you're open and vulnerable to them and honest, but also, not trying to be the cool parent,
Yeah.
that lets them get away with
Yeah.
everything. There's that line where I'm your dad, I'm your parent. You come to me because I love you. And here's how I know how this turns out because I've done it, I've experienced it, and I've gotten through it. I've recovered and I've learned from it.
I think that goes a long way with a teenager because they know everything, see everything, and then, they have the internet, they can freaking
Yeah.
Google us. It's not like
Yeah.
they're idiots. They have access. They know everything. I guarantee my stepson knows all about my history because of, the other side of the family is maybe curious, maybe his mom is curious or other people. I mean, people have Google,
Mhm.
And so the, being honest and saying before it gets to the Googling point of this is what I did and this is how I came out on the other side. And this is how I know getting a DUI will cost you a whole hell of a lot more
Yeah.
money than you make.
Yeah.
That goes a long way in heading off that, oh, I'm perfect. I'm the adult. I'm doing everything right. No, it's like, dude, this is what I went through. This is the ways that I messed up my career, my life, my driving record.
Mm.
We're open about that. And
And it's
that
not
goes a long
about
way.
it's also not about getting ahead, like trying to get in front of it. It's also about being honest, being real, and showing them I messed up. People make mistakes, and you could fix that.
I think too, the other thing that our teenagers watching is our dynamic with each other. I
Mhm.
think it's so cool that he sees us come down into the kitchen to grab our things and go out in cool outfits on Friday and Saturday nights and says, "Where are you guys going? Where are you off to now? Now where? What's up? What are you doing now? Why are you wearing that?" And I love that he gets to see you in a shirt and tie and me wearing different cocktail dresses and outfits.
Yeah.
We're going to this. It's like we're always going to something
And where do you learn about relationships? You learn about it
from your
from your
parents.
parents. How do your parents treat each other?
Yeah.
How does that's how they learn how to treat their partners. So
I
they
hope
they
that
see
he
us.
sees the way that
Mhm.
we jokingly argue, we say things, but we don't go below the belt. We don't disrespect. There's something that happens when you've gone through recovery where you have this like new way to look at life. And things seem like small potatoes compared to the BS and the nightmare that we've been through.
Mhm.
I think because we both had a rock bottom and we're fortunate enough to come out on the other side of it, especially as a married couple, we don't take that for granted.
No.
I think that's another part of it is like, is this worth like we pick our battles. Is this fucking worth it?
Mhm.
After everything we've been through, is this really worth it? No.
And like we said, we do get mad.
Oh, for sure.
We do get upset at stuff, but you just said pick your battles, or is what I'm gonna say gonna add any value to this discussion right now? And if not, can I please dial it back? And I don't always dial it back. Sometimes the word slips out. And same with you. It happened, but we could get through it. Get through it.
Imagine that.
Imagine
I'm
that.
a little
You know?
mouthy.
Yeah.
I like to talk.
Does.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what else could we tell people about what it's like? I love that we are now like one of the sober power couples. And I love that I can take you to sobriety events and it's not just like that's one thing I do and then you're at home.
Mhm.
And so what do you think your advice would be for people, heading into our shoes?
Heading into our shoes, well,
Or like contemplating what if we're going to be a sober couple?
yeah, I would think that in the beginning, everybody thinks about, well, what am I gonna do now? Here I am, Friday night, I'm sober. How boring. I'm a
Boring.
boring person. And, you guys are different. It doesn't work out like that for everybody.
I know.
Well, no, it doesn't work out like
Yeah.
that for everybody, but it's because you have to go out and get it. We can, uh, stay home and
We work at it. Yeah.
be a sober couple and, play Monopoly or whatever and just
Feel sorry for ourselves.
anybody could be boring. I mean, you
That's
can
true.
be boring.
Yeah.
You choose to be boring, or you could be like, you know what? Let's try something different. Um, like I would never go to a fashion show. I got to be perfectly honest.
But you
I
do now.
I would never listen to a fashion podcast
But you do now because you love
because I'm in the same car as her, but I never would on my own. But I do. And
You're open to
I
learning
am.
about new
I'm
things.
open to learn about new things. When we do go to a show and I'm shooting it, um, it's fun. I always have a great time. I always have a great time. We've made some really cool friends, people we know.
We
It's fun. And these are things I promise you I would not do in my past life as a drinker. I wouldn't do it.
Stop.
I would have missed out.
You would have missed out.
Um, yeah, a lot of my
I'm
veteran
fashion.
friends. Yeah,
Your fashion is that T-shirt.
a lot of my friends, when we leave the army after so many years, I served during the 20 years of our conflict, and
Wartime. Yeah.
yeah, uh, you kind of burnt out, and we're okay with sitting home watching 165 games of baseball. I still do, but sober. But we're okay with just sitting home, and our excuse is, well, when we were in our 20s and 30s, we were traveling the world doing crazy stuff, and there's something to be said about that. But you don't have to. That's another part of your life.
Yeah.
I have a whole new part of my life, and I want to see stuff. I want to be adventurous. I want to take pictures of the biggest rock groups in the world, and
Yeah.
and stuff I would not put the work into.
Well, you
eh,
just photographed another protest, and I think that's
Oh
amazing
yeah,
too, like
yeah.
a cultural event.
I want to. Yeah, I'm shooting. I'm getting up on a Saturday morning and going to yeah, one of the
This is
bigger
a person
protests.
too, like you were not a person who ever picked up a camera before.
No.
So you can get creative in sobriety. And I think you nailed it when you said you have to go out and get it, though. You have to intentionally say, okay, we're rebuilding our life here. And what new interests can we have?
Yeah.
What can we get involved in that doesn't involve booze? So yeah, there's an intentionality into that. And I purposely dove into fashion as something creative and fun where I could get dressed up and it didn't have to revolve around the bar.
No, and I have some
Fashion
people
saved my life.
who will try to emulate being a couple that we are, and I have to remind them, find your own thing, find out what makes you excited. For me, yeah, photography wasn't a thing that I would think would.
Yeah, it's still crazy to me that you do that.
Yeah, and I really get excited about it, and it might be turned into a new addiction with gear and stuff, but,
Yeah.
um, it's
You're a geardo.
I'm a geardo.
I'm just a weirdo.
It is exciting. She's so weird. It's exciting, though. Find your thing. Find the thing that makes you exciting. You might not find it right away. It might take a minute, but you have to get outside of your comfort zone and do things that make you uncomfortable sometimes.
And who taught you that?
Well, I learned it from Mr. Maholsky, my civics teacher.
Freaking me, dude. Me. And we tried to be
Matt
that
Maholsky.
we tried to be that couple that, like, did the outdoor thing. Okay, here's the other misnomer is that when you're a sober couple, the only thing you're gonna do together is go hiking because that's what sober people do. I am wearing a cut-off camouflage shirt that says indoorsy, okay? We bought 100 kayaks at one not 100, 5 or 4 or something. Too many.
We have kayaks and
Thing,
we
right?
like it, but you could do things separately too. We do things together and we do things separately because we have that comfort level also,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I mean, the trust in that I can do my events and come home at 2 in the morning and so can you, and there's no, like, weird I can go on girls' trips, there's no weird animosity. I tell clients that I coach all
you
the
wouldn't care if I
time.
came out 2 in the morning?
No,
I didn't
I
know.
don't
I would
care. I
probably would have stayed.
You're
You know,
short and you don't have a lot of game, and so
I don't. I don't.
you're most likely to be at a Taco Bell at 2 a.m. if
Yeah.
they're still I don't know, are they still open
A
out late?
Seattle dog. Seattle dog. My game is that I have no game.
No, I trust you, you know?
Yeah.
So there's more to being a sober couple than saying, "Oh, we're gonna go hiking every weekend." Not that there's anything wrong with that, like, but we're just not, mountain people. We're more like
Yeah.
city people.
I spent a career camping,
I'm
so
indoorsy. I don't mind going out to the outdoors, but a social life for me is not gonna be joining a hiking club. It's just not. And so that's like the image that people get when they think, "Oh, you're a sober couple and you live in the Pacific Northwest. You must, like, stay home and make your own granola and then, like,
yeah.
go
Yeah, no,
whitewater rafting."
we like to dress a little bit funky and go
I'm cracking myself up
yeah,
over here.
she's the funny one. She's the funny one. No, yeah.
Yeah, I think what saves us is, number 1, sobriety, and number 2, just being able to not take ourselves so fucking serious. After everything we've been through, maybe it's because you've been a combat veteran, I've been a nurse, and we've been through hell, but we don't really take a whole lot that serious.
Nothing's that important.
No, no. I mean, we've, like, been on the edge of death, and that sounds corny, but that's the freaking truth, dude.
There was a thing earlier, I think I heard you or somebody else say it,
Probably me.
probably you, where it said, being fiercely protected of your sobriety.
Yeah,
Um, I'm at the point where I'm not fiercely protective over it. It's just part of who I am. I mean, I
yeah.
don't have to protect myself with it. It's just me. I can't imagine being a different way right now. Just like before, I couldn't imagine not drinking. Who does that? What do
I
you
know.
go out and you don't drink? What's wrong
Yeah,
with you?
yeah.
I've been doing that since I was a kid. My buddy Mike, he said, "Dude, you've been a binge drinker your whole entire life. I've known
Wow,
you
you're
forever."
name dropping a lot
I
on
am.
this pod.
I am.
So,
But I'm not saying
we're
last names though.
the class of 1972.
70. But yeah, I'm not fiercely protective. It's just become
It's
part
we are
of
now.
my personality and myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, sometimes I do get, like, do you still have cravings? Is it hard to go out to places? That ship has sailed, dude.
No.
That's the last thing I think about.
Yeah, it's not. I don't. I I was taking photos next to the bar and people were spilling drinks everywhere, and
Yeah, please don't spill your drink on me.
I
That's the
didn't
only thing I
care.
care about.
I didn't care. I didn't care.
I don't wanna smell like booze because it smells gross.
Yeah.
Please don't spill your red wine on my light colored outfit, but otherwise, I don't give a fuck, dude.
Yeah, no.
I don't
It's
care.
it's a good life. I'm happy to help people with
Be
whatever advice I can give and be married to you. Not in that order, the other, be married to you and help people. Uh, but I will remind people that we're all different. Sobriety is different for everyone.
Yeah.
You getting sober was vastly different than me getting sober.
Yeah,
And what I do for fun is going to be a lot different than what another person does for fun.
yeah,
And I can't tell you how to do it. I could just say, just do one day at a time. Don't drink tonight,
yeah.
get to tomorrow, and then maybe don't drink tomorrow and start stacking days. I can't tell you there's a magic pill. Well, there is a magic pill actually, but I can't tell you.
Ozempic.
Yeah, yeah. There, just do you. And if you want it bad enough, it'll happen. There's that one Tommy Lee Jones thing. Is it worth it? And he says, if you want it bad enough, yeah.
Absolutely.
It is worth it. It is 100% worth it. I really believe that had I not gotten sober, I may be dead today.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. And I'd be a
Dead or
horrible,
dead or divorced.
dead of divorce, or maybe divorce and did. I would be a terrible father. Um, Probably still be a good employee.
Should we end it on that really, really positive note?
On that positive note, me being a terrible father, but a good employee somehow.
No, it's you were in the army.
I
They
know.
don't care if you're a douche rocket.
Yeah, they don't.
As long as you know how to fire your weapon.
What did that? I had a old lady the other day telling me I was about
You're
to
still you're in
doing
fighting
some stuff,
shape.
and she looked at me. She's all, "Hey, you still look pretty good. It looks like you could still fight." In her little tiny old lady voice, and so most of your friends who got out are fat and sad.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's a good positive note
Oh,
to end on.
Okay. All right. Well, with that,
Yeah.
you have just heard from the wisest couple in the sober power couple game. So I hope that you got something good to take away from this. We'll be back with more on that note. Thanks for tuning in. You can find me on my website at katevitella.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Kate Vitella. I would love to hear from you. Any feedback or questions, shoot me a note. So until next time, peace within and bullshit out.